If you struggle with completing your songs, this video is for you. Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. I'm Game from BusyWorksBeats.com. We trained over 1 million producers around the world. Some have gone to work with Drake, Kanye West, Post Malone, Ariana Grande, French Montana, Young Thug, Polo G, Trippie Redd, J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Glorilla. Some have won Grammy plaques. Some have won platinum plaques. So we've trained a lot of folks, mainly in the hip hop and R&B space. And it's come down to this. If you want to complete a song, and when I say complete a song, you're in two phases when you're making music. You're either learning or you're trying to complete something. So just separate the learning phase from the completing stuff phase. So this course is called Complete Producer Course because I'm going to show you how to go from knowing nothing about beat making specifically. Now, beat making and your DAW are two separate things. So if you only focus on the features of your DAW, you're not going to necessarily learn beat making. You're just learning how technology works. But when you learn beat making and how to structure and how to go about it, that's the art and the craft. Okay. So I have a 9-step system that basically guarantees a song every single time. And when you go in this order in this sequence, you get straight to it. So let's hop into the DAW. So we're going to follow the steps. So let me just map out the steps real quick. The first one is picking a BPM. This is your metronome of the song. Then we're going to move into a key or a scale. Which notes do you actually use and in what order? Okay, we're going to stick to these notes, and then we start writing out chords from our scale. In this case, chords can be 2 notes or more, okay? That's the older definition, but I think it works better saying 2 notes or more than 3 notes. Now, where does melody come from? Melody comes from how do I explain this here? Melody comes from simply spreading apart the chord. And now you get a melodic sound because we're separating the chord into different pieces. So melody is not just this ethereal thing that just exists. You're really splitting up chord things that are happening. Okay. So far we have BPM, which is the speed of your track. Then you have the key or the scale. This is the sequence of notes you follow. And this is just used as what they call a tonal center. So we're not bound to these exact notes, but it's a good place to start. And then we build our chords from that scale. Okay, then we come up with melody. Now from there, bass, because bass is pretty much part of the chord. It's just reinforced in the lower octaves. Now from the bass, once you write your compositional music, then you can go into the drums. Now when you move into the drums, you're adding rhythm to your track, because you need that rhythm for the groove, and the artist needs some kind of movement to kind of wrap their lyrics around. So the next step would be adding the vocal recording and then finalizing it with mixing and mastering. So that's a 9-step process. So let's follow that exact process. And I guarantee you, we won't be bottlenecked. The issue most people have is they'll be writing a song and they go back to another. They'll keep going back to different steps and it throws off their workflow. So firstly, let's start with the BPM. Let's tap out the BPM. And I'm just going to beatbox somewhere around 117. Okay. Now there's no magical number. Okay. If you're going dance vibes, you might do 120, you might do 115, you might do 108, you might do 128, you might do 130. There's no set thing. Just, tap out the tempo and just start there. You could always speed up your song or slow it down later. From here, we need to map out a scale. So I'm going to use my plugin at busyworksbeats.com/black. This is called Halo 3D. So we're going to use this plugin because we could just simply map out some sounds here. So let me turn off my keyboard. Okay, so let's right click. Let's go inside of the piano roll here. Now inside of the piano roll, this is where we can map out notes. So I'm going to pick a scale just to show you guys how I would go about this. But normally speaking, if you're only producing in the computer, you could use a system like this. If you're producing not in a computer, you just need to know the shapes of the scale. You don't need to memorize every single thing. So the chord I'm going to play here is going to be F minor. Okay, so I'm going to start here by drawing out the actual chord. Now again, we can go into the depths of music theory and everything about it. I have courses on that, because that's how deep music theory goes. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/premium to find our music theory courses there. It's a lot to explain, so I just got to show you guys the answer here. So we're going to draw out this chord here. Now, every scale has a sequence of notes that somebody decided sounds good. Okay, so we could technically only use these 5 notes, and that would be called a 5-note scale, just like that. It's just a sequence of notes somebody likes. So if we only wrote a melody using those notes, that would be our scale. So let's elaborate the scale by adding a couple more notes in here. Now there are, what do you call it? Defined sequences of notes that are already created. For example, the natural minor scale is whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. So what does that mean? A whole step is 2 notes away. So anytime I go from this note up a note, this is called a half step. A half step is only when you go from one note to the note above or the note below. It's called a half step. A whole step is when you take the note and you go 2 notes above or 2 notes below. So that's the difference between a half step and a whole step. So let's take this root note. Let's do whole, which is 2 notes away. So it's whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole, and then back to where we started here. So let's map all these notes. A little hard to play on the keyboard because you have a lot of structural things in the way. Okay, but usually we pivot around this tonal center. So that's what we mean by picking a scale. Now, am I going to always stick to that scale? No, it's just a starting point. We don't want to get too locked into it, because I can show you guys. Here's C minor, for example. I'm going to go out of scale and it's going to sound fine. On that last chord, I technically went out of the scale, but it sounds musical. So don't be so locked into a scale as if that's the only thing that you could do. All right, so now that we have the scale, we need to map out some chords. So we could, again, I can get into the weeds of everything about music theory, but that's not what you guys need to know. You need to understand how to build stuff, not what to build. You need to know how to build it. So let's use 2 chords here. We're gonna use the tonic chord and what's called the dominant chord here. So you guys can just copy those notes that I added for you there. All right, here's the notes. Now we're going to swap out the sound. The sound is a little heavy for this specific example. So let's go inside of Halo. Again, this plugin is at busyworksbeats.com/black. Or just go to busyworksbeats.com. All right, see how we're starting to form an idea? So we have the BPM, which is the speed of the song. We have the key or the scale that we're kind of centering around. Then we map out the chords. Next up, we need to map out the melody. How do we create a melody? You could literally use the same exact chords, just play them up an octave. So let's grab Halo 3D again. This time, let's use a bell or a mallet or a pluck, either one. And let's go up an octave or 2. We're playing the same exact chords. We're just playing them rhythmically this time around. So let's record this, and let's record this over top of the chords so we can hear stuff in context. Let's go to song mode here. All right, let's go to, again, if you want the music theory, the how to understand chords, scales, and modes, and come up with your own melodic formulas and how to create chords from scratch, go to busyworksbeats.com/premium, because I have really good training about that. Here I have to kind of skip some of the fundamentals on music theory just for the sake of teaching you guys. So now let's record the same exact chords. This time around, we're going to play them rhythmically. Got a little sloppy at the end there, but we'll quantize those notes. Let's hit Control Q. Now we just got to level our sounds here. See how we're playing around the chord? We're just wrapping the melody around it. Let's pull our chords down an octave so that we have a richer tone. We're already like 90% done our song already. Okay, so now we just need the bass. The bass is going to be really easy. I'm going to show you guys a shortcut for the bass. All we have to do is play the bottom notes of our chords, and I'll show you guys a formula, a music theory formula, funny enough. So we have, I think, how many sounds are in Halo? I want to say we have 200 and it's either 275 or 240. I'm forgetting now. All my plugins have so many sounds. I want to say it's like 270 sounds in here. Again, you can find this at busyworksbeats.com. What we're going to do now is simply record the bottom note of our chords. So if you don't have a MIDI controller, you could literally just copy this bottom note. Okay, so let me show you guys how I'm coming up with the notes. So the 3 notes I'm going to use for the bass, for the most part, are going to be the root note, and then we're going to count up 7 notes from the root note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is called the perfect fifth. Okay, and then we're going to count up 7 notes again, or 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's going to bring us back to the same exact note, just up an octave. So the way you can kind of jump around with your bass is to use these 3 notes and half steps above the tonic or above the fifth if you need more notes. Okay, so this is kind of how I'm moving around with the bass. You guys will be able to see the notes after I'm done, but that's the philosophy. You're basically just playing a perfect fifth in the bass with the root notes and an octave. I know that sounds more complicated than what it is. So here's what it's going to sound like. Okay, and then you can kind of finesse the turnaround with those half steps. My brain forgot what I even played it. So I was thinking too much. That's what I get. So here are the notes. We're playing root note, octave, perfect fifth. Then we switch the root note to C because they're the same note. Okay. And then we're going to go to the fifth of C, which is G in this case. And I kind of work my way from the octave right back down to G and then back to A. I just did A by accident, to be honest with you guys. And then I played F, which is the root note of the same exact chord. So that's what it is. We're just repeating that same formula. All right, now we have a bass line. So let's turn this down a little bit. So all we need now is just drums. Now I'm just going to slap in some drums. I don't think I have drums at 117 BPM. And I don't feel like programming drums. I guess we could quickly use some drums. If you guys need more drum sounds, go to busyworksbeats.com/ just go to busyworksbeats.com/black. That's where we have all our sounds and our biggest deal of the year. And what can we use from here? Let's try to find some. So now I'm going to stack some sounds. Now again, this is not supposed to be the greatest thing in the world. Do not think this is like the Bible of drum patterns. This is not. This is just because we need a pattern for today. I would take more time, but I don't want to obsess about 20 minutes around drums. So I'm just adding a little lightweight drums in here. Really, we could just suffice with that. We don't need to do too much. Just as bounces like that. Now we can go back and just simply swap out the sounds. right, so now we just need vocals. So, I mean, I'm gonna hack a vocal together. So now we need to find our key. Now, again, I'm not gonna be singing the craziest thing in the world. Don't think this is that. I'm just gonna be humming a melody. All right, let's record some. Let's record some. Also, too, I think because we got a key for a certain note, we're gonna put this on chromatic instead. That way it doesn't lock to every single note. But this is auto-tune's almost messing me up. Let's turn auto-tune off. I don't think we need auto-tune. All right, so it could be a little more tightened up tune-wise, but and then from here you just mix. So you send everything to your mixer. I know I'm shortcutting the process because we're not making an entire beat just now, but the art of mixing is a whole thing too. We teach mixing. Look for the mixing fundamentals course at busyworksbeats.com. So let me see what else we need to do here. So basically we just need to group everything. Let's just group it into a submix. And then we just need some, if you're gonna add a kick, so let me add a kick. So we have a little bit more. Let me pause the video and add some drums here. All right, so now we have some drums laid. So if you guys notice, there's a system to this, and let me show you guys the 4 components. So basically we have a harmony. This is our chords. And we have the top line. This is our melody of the song, the beat, the instrument. Then we have what's called the contrast layer, aka the bass in this case. And what did we add underneath? We added the rhythm. Okay, now your vocal can be more than just a top line. It could be all 4 of these things. The top line usually are the highest frequencies of a song. It could be a harmony vocal, like background vocals. It could be more of a bass type. So it just depends on how you guys do your actual vocal. There's no set one pocket for what a vocal actually does. I don't want you guys to think like that. So in this case, it's the top line. Really a contrast area, but with the top line motion to it. And now we have a song. Now, if I sat here and wrote lyrics, so I'm just gonna quickly add a little limiter on here. We're not gonna mix crazily. All right, so then you go about the mixing and mastering process. Again, that's a whole process that could take an hour to explain. We teach that in our other courses at busyworksbeats.com/premium. I want to thank you guys for hopping into this complete producer course. This is only video number 1 covering the music production formula. because it comes down to these 4 components: the top line, the harmony, the contrast, and the rhythm. Once you understand these buckets of things, you can move anything into those buckets, whether it's top line, whether it's a vocal, whether it's a vocal chop, whether it's a drum break. You could put these things in different pockets. Now, drums are usually in the rhythm section. They're not used tonally, but a conga or a bongo is a tonal drum. So you could use that as a top line. So there's different pockets to put things in, but it comes down to these 4 components: top line, harmony, contrast, and rhythm. Once you understand these pockets, you guys could pretty much run to the hills. Also, too, um, keep in mind that 9-step process. Choose your BPM. This is the speed of your song. You move into the key or the scale from here to give you, the color notes to use. Then you move into your chords. This is where you organize the colors of your outfit, metaphorically speaking. The melody is the thing that stands out of your outfit, like your hat you want everybody to pay attention to, or your shoes. That's called the top line or the melody. And then the bass is just a supportive element. It's the density, it's your cool jeans that make the contrast for your popping out hat look cool because it contrasts in colors, okay, against your jeans, for example. And then you have the drums. This is your rhythm. This is how you identify really genre, usually by the drums. And then you move into the vocal. So this is your personality of your outfit, metaphorically speaking, or your little personal things about your outfit. And then nextly, you move into mixing, which is, I don't know what the equivalent would be in closed terms, but I guess mixing would be, the fabric and the texture of it all. And mastering would be making sure every little thread isn't poking out of your shirt or whatever. I don't know the exact equivalent there in clothing terms, but those are the 9 steps to always get a full song. Thank you guys for watching. It's Game from BusyWorksBeats.com. Peace out, guys.